Chapter 3 Our Changing Earth. The lithosphere is broken into a number of plates known as lithospheric plates. You will be surprised to know that these plates move around very slowly, just a few millimeters each year. This is because of the movement of the molten magma inside the Earth. The molten magma inside the Earth moves in a circular manner as shown in the activity. The movement of these plates causes changes on the surface of the Earth. The Earth movements are divided on the basis of the force which cause them. The force which act in the interior of the Earth are called as endogenic forces, and the forces that work on the surface of the Earth are called as exogenic forces. Endogenic forces sometimes produce sudden movement and at the other times produce slow movements. Sudden movements like earthquakes and volcanoes cause mass destruction over the surface of the Earth. A volcano is a vent opening in the Earth's crust through which molten materials erupt suddenly. Similarly, when the lithospheric plates move, the surface of the Earth vibrates. The vibration can travel all around the Earth. These vibrations are called earthquakes. The plates in the crust where the movement starts is called the focus. The plate on the surface above the focus is called the epicenter. Vibrations travel towards from the epicenter as waves. Greatest damage is usually closer to the epicenter and the strength of the earthquake decreases away from the center. Although earthquakes cannot be predicted, the impact can certainly be minimized if we are prepared beforehand. Some common earthquake prediction methods adopted locally by people including studying animal behavior. Fish in the pond get agitated, snakes come to the surface. Earthquake preparedness. Where to take shelter during an earthquake. Safe spot. Under a kitchen counter, table or desk. Against an inside corner or wall. Stay away from fireplaces, areas around chimneys, windows that shatter including mirrors and picture frames. Be prepared. Spread awareness amongst your friends and family members and face any disaster confidently. Major landforms. The landscape is very continuously worn away by two processes, weathering and erosion. Weathering is the breaking up of the rocks on the Earth's surface. Erosion is the wearing away of the landscape by different agents like water, wind, and ice. The eroded material is carried away or transported by water, wind, etc., and eventually deposited. This process of erosion and deposition create different landforms on the surface of the Earth. Work of a river. The running water in the river erodes the landscape when the river tumbles at a steep angle over very hard rocks or down a steep valley side. It forms a waterfall. As the river enters the plain, it twisted and turns, forming large bends known as meanders. Due to continuous erosion and deposition along the sides of the meanders, the ends of the meanders loops come closer and closer. In due course of time, the meander loop cuts off from the river and forms a cut-off lake, also called an oxbow lake. At times, the river overflows its banks. This leads to the flooding of the neighboring areas. As it floods, it deposits layers of fine soil and other material called sediments along its bank. This leads to the formation of a flat, fertile floodplain. The raised banks are called levees. As the river approaches the sea, the speed of the flowing water decreases and the river begins to break up into a number of streams called distributaries. The river becomes so slow that it begins to deposit its load. Each distributary forms its own mouth, the collection of sediments from all the mouths from a delta. Work of sea waves. The erosion and deposition of the sea waves gives rise to coastal landforms. Sea waves continuously strike at the rocks. Cracks develop. Over time, they become larger and wide. Thus, hollow-like caves are formed on the rocks. They are called sea caves. As these cavities become bigger and bigger, only the roof of the caves remain, thus forming sea arches. Further erosion breaks the roof and only walls are left. These walls-like features are called stacks. The steep rocky coast rising almost vertically above sea water is called sea cliff. The sea waves deposit sediments along the shore, forming beaches. Work of ice. Glaciers are rivers of ice which too erode the landscape by bulldozing soil and stones to expose the solid rock below. Glaciers carve out deep hollows there. As the ice melts, they get filled up with water and become beautiful lakes in the mountains. The material carried by the glaciers, such as rock, big and small, sand and silt, gets deposited. These deposits from glacial moraines. Work of wind. Have you ever visited a desert? Try to collect some picture of land dunes. An active agent of erosion and deposition in the deserts is wind. In deserts, you can see rocks in the shape of a mushroom, commonly called mushroom rocks. Winds erode the lower section of the rock more than the upper part, therefore, such rocks have narrower base and wider top. When the wind blows, it lifts and transports sand from one place to another. When it stops blowing, the sand falls and gets deposited in low hills like structures. These are called sand dunes. When the grains of sand are very fine and light, the wind can carry it over very long distances. When such sand is deposited in large areas, it is called loess. Large deposits of loess is found in China.